Greetings and salutations, friends and gamers of all stripes. My name is GM Dave, your man behind the screen, and I am back with another entry in Striving for Greatness, our series on how you could become an awesome tabletop gamer. Today we'll be looking at the importance of pinning down your own personal tabletop gaming philosophy, exploring exactly what this is, and finishing up with me sharing my own tabletop philosophy with all of you. So, without any further ado, let's jump right in. So what exactly is one's tabletop gaming philosophy? Put simply, it is a combination of the cumulative knowledge of your likes and dislikes within the realm of tabletop gaming and the level of importance you give to each of these things. For instance, let's take a look at Steve here. All whilst paying no mind to the fact that Steve is actually an imaginary projection I've created in my head to act as an example for whatever the fuck it is I'm talking about here. Steve has been playing tabletop RPGs for 8 years. He's played Pathfinder, GURPS, 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons, Savage Worlds, and Vampire the Masquerade. Over his 8 years across the games he's played, Steve has learned that he really enjoys the following things. Combat that is well-paced but also deep and engaging. Lots of character customizability, allowing him to experiment with different ideas. Character creation options that are extensive, but with a system that's quick to work through. Settings based around high adventure and fantasy. Settings based around dystopian science fiction. Moderate to fast-paced sessions that last around 2 to 3 hours, good for his busy work schedule. Having lots of chances to make use of good teamwork, and light to moderate role-playing. He's also learned that he really dislikes the following things. Heavy focus on role-playing, slow-paced narrative games such as mysteries, dealing with stealth, traps, or any other distractions that, quote, slow the game down. Combat systems that can get easily bogged down, modern settings, overly complex character creation. Options of detail are good, but too much gets confusing and boring. Long sessions lasting 4 hours or more, and absolutely no marathon games. One-on-one games, or groups that refuse to use teamwork. Groups of larger than 4 people. The game just moves too slow after that. With this in mind, we can begin to understand Steve's personal philosophy when it comes to tabletop games. He loves fast-paced games with good combat, but hates when the combat systems can get bogged down. He loves lots of character customization options, but doesn't like character creation systems that are obtuse and overcomplicated. He likes fast-paced games that fit with his busy life schedule, but doesn't like to play one-on-one or with groups that don't want to take the time to strategize and use teamwork. So, with all of this in mind, Steve sits down and determines for himself what his 3 most important likes and dislikes are. His top 3 likes turn out to be 1. Character customization options that allow him the room to experiment. 2. Moderate to fast-paced sessions that fit his schedule. And 3. Well-paced combat that can also be deep and engaging. And his top 3 dislikes are 1. Slow-paced and heavily narrative-driven games. 2. Games with modern settings. And 3. Groups that have more than 4 people. Steve has now determined the core of his tabletop gaming philosophy. His favorite types of games are those that allow him to create varied and interesting characters with many options, keep a good pace that will allow him to play with his busy schedule, and games that allow for combat with depth and substance, but also a fast pace. As such, his 2 favorite games of the 5 he's played become Savage Worlds and Pathfinder, as they most closely meet his considerations of what makes for the most fun at the table. And ultimately, that is why determining your personal tabletop gaming philosophy is so important. Your philosophy is the heart of what defines your fun at the table, and knowing what you like and don't like in the realm of tabletop gaming will be invaluable in helping you to find games that fit your style of play. But how do you go about determining that to begin with? Well, let's look back to Steve. Recall that when we first started exploring Steve's history with the hobby, he played 5 very different games. Pathfinder, 5th edition D&D, GURPS, Savage Worlds, and Vampire. Steve's exposure to these varied systems, and potentially the varied groups of people that ran and played them, allowed him to experience firsthand not only what each system had to offer, but also what elements of those systems he enjoyed. With GURPS, he got the customizability he enjoyed, but the massive expansiveness of the system made the game difficult for him to learn and caused it to feel too slow. Vampire, on the other hand, severely lacked the meaty combat and action-oriented pace he enjoyed, being more heavily focused on roleplay. 5e D&D came close with its ease of access and good pacing, but ultimately it lacked the options he really wanted. So it fell to Pathfinder. A little crunch-heavy for his taste, but it was full enough of the customization options he really wanted, and he really enjoyed the setting enough to grow to love it. And Savage Worlds, a little more simplistic than he would have liked, but the ability to customize the basic abilities with his own trappings, the absence of a class system, and the game being setting neutral hit almost every other mark he needed. Through experimentation and willingness to try many different games, Steve soon learned exactly the sort of games he most liked to play. However, it's by no means a requirement that you try to tackle multiple games with varied settings to discover what it is you enjoy. Many people figure all of this out while sticking with a single system. In my personal opinion, though, these people tend to shortchange themselves. After all, who's to say that they couldn't find a system they enjoyed even more if they were willing to branch out a little bit? And speaking of branching out, it was this very method that enabled me to discover my own tabletop gaming philosophy. I may have started with 3rd edition D&D, but it was by trying a multitude of other games, Star Wars Saga, 2nd, 4th, and 5th edition D&D, Pathfinder, Savage Worlds, Call of Cthulhu, and many more, over the years that I've been involved with this hobby that I was really able to clearly define what the core of my philosophy was, a core that I will share with you now. My top 3 most important likes are: 1. A rich story that provides opportunities for me to engage with and impact it in character. 2. An emphasis on good roleplay, not just with the NPCs, but my fellow PCs as well. 3. A good balance between exploration, adventuring, combat, puzzle solving, and roleplaying. By contrast, my 3 most important dislikes are: 1. Overly complicated game systems that negatively impact the pace of the story. 2. Groups that are overlarge, forcing players to wait long times for their turns. And 3. Players or GMs who treat the game as theirs and theirs alone, forgetting that there are others sharing the table with them. As you can see, this core fits nicely in my personal philosophy of story-driven games that allow everyone at the table a chance to feel truly involved, while also earning those spotlight moments that they're going to remember for years to come. But what about you? Have you discovered your personal gaming philosophy yet? If so, how did you come to realize it? Did you experiment across multiple games as I did, or is it something that just came to you over time? If not, have you tried looking into other games you might not have played yet? You may find that there's one out there that fits you better than what you've been playing. Whatever your answer, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear how all of you came to or are coming to discover what you find most important for the fun of your games. As usual, friends and gamers, if you enjoyed this video and you found it informative, please feel free to give it a like, and even more than that, share it around. My hope with this channel is that I can help to enrich the community with what I've learned over the years, but I can't do that without your help. If you would like to see more, please consider subscribing and following me on social media, links in the description below, for regular updates. YouTube's been less than reliable as of late when it comes to notifying people of new content, so following me elsewhere is one of the best ways to ensure you know when a new video is up. As always, dear friends and gamers, it is my sincere hope that you roll high, roleplay well, and game on.